Skype concerned?
Everybody's going to use Zoom.
Video conferencing is the new normal.
Video calls have become an essential component of the workday. You can strike up a conversation with anyone in the world with just a few clicks. Sales pitches, webinars, team meetings. Imagine if video calls didn't exist and you had to communicate strictly through email. Oof. Fortunately, you don't, and whether it's WebEx, Google, or Microsoft, I'm sure virtual communication is in your day-to-day. But one company seems to be more prevalent than the rest. Zoom dominates nearly half of the video conferencing market. In the past few years, you've had a Zoom happy hour, watched a Zoom reunion, and definitely suffered from Zoom fatigue. But why does Zoom get the biggest piece of the pie? Well, at the beginning of 2020, Skype controlled 32.4% of the market compared to Zoom's 26.4%. But by the following year, Skype dropped to only 6.6%. At this point, I don't want anyone Skyping Benjamin Skywalker 94, but if you think your old username is better than mine, let me know in the comments down below. In such an opportune moment for this industry, where did Skype go wrong? And what did Zoom get so right? In this video, we'll walk through how the industry was formed, the early pioneers, and how Zoom capitalized on the mistakes of Skype. I'm Ben Hillman, and this is Verticals. In order to set the stage for Zoom's dominance, it's important to understand the problem that Zoom solves. Face-to-face communication is crucial because it allows you to read body language and nonverbal cues. Effectively, it gives you a better understanding of what someone is trying to communicate by combining multiple senses: sight and sound. Video conferencing, or video telephony, refers to connecting and communicating via video and audio in real time. Over 100 years ago, a typical white-collar working day meant going into an office, sitting at a desk, and speaking and interacting with coworkers that were in the same building or nearby. To communicate with someone face-to-face, you had to get yourself up and swing by their desk. I know, it was really tough work. You could communicate in real time with a phone call, but this could be cost prohibitive and offered no visual component. In 1927, all of that was about to change. Then Secretary of Commerce Herbert Hoover gave a brief speech to an audience in New York City on a Thursday afternoon. Only Herbert Hoover wasn't in New York City. He wasn't even shouting from a megaphone across the river in New Jersey. No, Herbert Hoover had just conducted the first video call from over 200 miles away while he sat in Washington, D.C. He sat at a setup developed by the American Telephone and Telegraph Company, or AT&T. You may be familiar with them. This demonstration proved that visually connecting with someone over a great distance was possible. But a lot still needed to be figured out. Not seen during Hoover's speech was the room full of cables, the network installed in between, and the constant iterations to make this possible. Over the next several decades, the groundwork had to be laid to take video conferencing from the bureaucrat to the boardroom. Infrastructure was built. The technology was honed. In the 1990s, the internet arrived and personal computer ownership skyrocketed.
Can you explain what internet is?
As the internet grew, the world shrunk. But no one seemed to crack the code on face-to-face communication. It was possible, sure, but cost was still proving to be an issue. Several startups capitalized on this opportunity, but it wasn't until the early 2000s that video conferencing had a breakthrough. In the country of Estonia, Kazaa founders found themselves in a bit of trouble as their company had become one of the largest file pirating sites in the world.
900 million files are currently being shared on Kazaa.
Kazaa made it possible to send files from one computer to another without an intermediary. They had the idea to use this method to make voice calls cheaper, so they started a new company. Skype entered the market. It was first released in 2003 as a voice-over IP service to make free or reduced-rate computer-to-computer calls. 2 years later, they introduced video telephony, and in the same year, they were acquired by eBay, a sale valued at $2.5 billion. And then in 2011, they were acquired again by the Microsoft Corporation for another $8.5 billion. By 2012, Skype accounted for 167 billion minutes of cross-border voice and video calling in 1 year. It was the #1 downloaded video conferencing app and the 6th most downloaded app of the entire 2010s, beating out the likes of TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter. Skype had become a verb. Skype was how you connected with people all over the world. It revolutionized communication in business and for the world in general. But on the tail of Skype's success was a new competitor that was about to enter the arena. In 2011, an engineer named Eric Yuan founded a company called SASB. Eric began his career at WebEx, and during his time there, he discovered something that would eventually lead him to leave. His discovery? Too many unhappy customers. They needed a cloud-based conference room solution with good voice over IP and video quality. Knowing that WebEx was not really designed for that, Eric left. Eric took that knowledge and built exactly what customers demanded. By 2012, SASB acquired its first customer, and by 2013, it reached 1 million participants worldwide. Today, you know SASB as Zoom. So what was the key difference that made Zoom soar and Skype plunge? When it comes to Skype, Microsoft's adamant intent to make Skype compete with everyday communication apps completely backfired. Priority was given to Microsoft Teams, which included video conferencing as a portion of the product, but Skype succumbed to feature creep and consistent redesigns. Users spoke of long load times, ad-filled browser windows, and updates right before a meeting. Skype brought the world closer together, but through multiple sales and leadership changes, no one was listening to what customers were saying. Where Skype failed is precisely where Zoom succeeded. Zoom runs with a singular focus to make video calls as frictionless as possible. They have a unifying leader in Eric Yuan. Eric ensures that his product is evolving based on customer needs, even personally getting into Twitter replies to ensure that users are satisfied. In order to bring people closer to you, you have to go to where they are. Additionally, Zoom's success can be credited to the way that it monetized the product. Freemium is a business model in which a company offers basic or limited features at no cost and then charges a premium for supplemental or advanced features. Anyone can connect to a 40-minute meeting for free. Once users required longer meetings, they were happy to pay the $15 per month license. Another element to Zoom's success is the initial focus on telemedicine and education. Zoom entered into agreements with several universities like Kansas State, Northern Iowa, and Ottawa, offering educational licenses. This allowed Zoom to focus on 1 or 2 markets and then expand into others when the time was right. So talking to customers, simplified use, freemium, and landing and expanding are the ingredients that led to Zoom's success. After the IPO in April of 2019, Zoom was valued at $9.2 billion. By focusing on making it as easy as possible to communicate face-to-face, Zoom was well positioned to explode. And as luck would have it, that opportunity was right around the corner. In 2020, life as we knew it seemed to change overnight. Suspended travel, at-home schooling, and working from home all became standard. Most video conferencing companies benefited. Some more than others, as you know. Zoom saw its market share go from 26.4% in 2020 to 48.7% in 2021, more than twice the market share of Skype and Microsoft Teams combined. Skype fell victim to being the hot product. Microsoft effectively acquired it in hopes that users would transfer over to their native solutions. Focus shifted to redesign the look of the product as well as adding features that no one was begging for, like emojis. Because of this, the core functionality of reliable video calling suffered, which made Skype vulnerable and ultimately led to its downfall. Businesses benefited greatly from video conferencing. As many as 76% of individuals use video calls to work remotely, allowing for less commuting, less travel, and more time spent being productive. It's changed the way that we work by bringing us closer together. But as with anything, just as there are benefits, there are also downsides. There's still this disconnect between video telephony and in-person communication. Excessive close-up eye contact, seeing yourself constantly, a reduction in mobility, and an increase in cognitive load contribute to what academics are calling Zoom fatigue. If Eric Yuan wants to avoid the same fate as Skype, he needs to ensure that Zoom is prepared for these technological leaps. Companies are starting to focus on bringing the experience closer to real life. In 2021, Google announced Project Starline. Users can see each other via a screen utilizing 3D imagery on a 3D display without needing to wear a headset. This demonstration seems almost as exciting as it was for folks to see Herbert Hoover hop on that video call 100 years ago. It's still a long way from becoming a daily reality, but it's experiments like these that will bring video calling to the next level. Any company that wishes to compete with Zoom at the very least has to rise to the floor of what Zoom is capable of. The focus has to be on listening to customers and getting the closest to unencumbered face-to-face communication. What company do you think that'll be? Let us know what you think in the comments down below. I'm Ben Hillman, and I'll see you next time.